Have you ever felt like you weren't alone in your own apartment? I've had 3 unsettling encounters that made me question everything. Prepare to be creeped out as I share the chilling details. I've always considered myself a rational person, someone who embraces the unknown, but ultimately seeks logical explanations. However, since moving into my current apartment, I've experienced 3 unexplained events that have left me questioning the boundaries between the living and the dead. My apartment is located in an old building with creaky floorboards and walls that seem to whisper secrets from the past. Despite its age, it's a charming unit filled with natural light and a cozy atmosphere that I initially found inviting. However, it wasn't long before I realized that something sinister lurked within its confines. The first encounter occurred on a Friday evening. I was settling in after a long week, unwinding with a glass of wine and the familiar routine of brushing my hair. It was during this mundane task that I heard it. A knock, a firm and deliberate rapping sound coming from the bedroom wall. I paused, unsure if I had imagined it. Perhaps the pipes were making noise again, or maybe it was just the wind rattling the window. But as I continued brushing my hair, the knocking started again, persistent and unwavering. I tried to dismiss it, telling myself that there was a logical explanation. But the knocking persisted, and I couldn't help but wonder if there was something or someone trying to get my attention from the other side of the wall. This unsettling incident left me with a sense of unease that lingered long after the knocking stopped. It was as if a dark secret was trying to emerge from the depths of my apartment. As the days passed, I tried to put the incident behind me, convincing myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks. But then the second encounter happened. I was alone in the living room when I noticed a faint scratching sound coming from the closet. At first, I thought it was just some harmless critters making their presence known. But as the sound continued, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was in there with me. It wasn't the sound itself, but the context of where it was coming from that sent shivers down my spine. Every time I opened the closet door, the scratching would stop, only to start again when I closed the door. This went on for weeks, driving me crazy with curiosity and fear. I finally mustered up the courage to open the closet, but what I found inside brought more questions than answers. There was nothing. No animals, no signs of intrusion, nothing to explain the sound. I searched every nook and cranny, even called a professional to check for pests, but nothing was found. To this day, I still can't understand what made that sound. It was after this second encounter that I began to feel a sense of dread that permeated every room in my apartment. The walls seemed to be closing in on me, and the shadows seemed to dance menacingly in the corners of my eyes. I started questioning whether I should even be spending another night in that apartment. Then came the third encounter, the one that shook me to my core and made me realize that I was not alone in that apartment. It was late at night, and I was lying in bed trying to sleep when I heard footsteps pacing back and forth in the apartment above mine. Now, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. So when I heard those footsteps, I knew it wasn't my neighbor because no one else lived above me. The ceiling in my apartment is quite low, and the only way to make such noise would be to stomp directly above where I was lying. And that's exactly what happened. Whoever was up there was intentionally making noise, knowing exactly where I was. The footsteps stopped right above my head, and for a moment there was silence. Then I heard a voice, a whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It said my name. My blood ran cold as I lay there, frozen in fear. Was I losing my mind? Was this some elaborate prank? Or was there something more sinister at play? These 3 encounters have left me shaken to my core, questioning the very nature of my reality. The logical side of me seeks rational explanations, but the more I try to analyze these events, the deeper I fall into a rabbit hole of uncertainty. What do you think happened in my apartment? I'd love to hear your theories. Have you ever experienced anything similar? Share your stories below. Now, As I sit here reflecting on these terrifying encounters, I can't help but wonder if my apartment is truly a safe haven or a gateway to another realm. A place where the veil between the living and the dead is paper thin. The thought sends chills down my spine, making me question the very essence of my existence. And as the shadows grow longer and the night draws in, I can't help but wonder, do you ever really feel alone in your own home?